This episode of the BJJ Foxcast is brought to you by BioPro. BioPro is an all-natural alternative to prescription human growth hormone, which aids in recovery, anti-aging, metabolism, libido, immunity, skin health, cognition, sleep, and stress. Just one vial per day provides a substantial boost to all of these growth factors. Okay, so that's what they want me to say. Here's what I know as an aging grappler. I've been using BioPro Plus and the nighttime variant, BioPro Plus Cortisleep, for several months, and it feels like I've grown a third lung. My gas tank is noticeably bigger, my recovery is faster, and I'm back on the mats much quicker, not just between training sessions, but between rounds. Now you can get $30 off your first order of BioPro when you use the code FOXCAST at www.bioproteintech.com. That's code FOXCAST for $30 off your first order at www.bioproteintech.com. Thank you, BioPro. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BJJ Foxcast. I am your host, Alex Martinez, and today I've got an old friend, Joshua Janis, back on the show. If you want to learn more about Joshua, take a look at episode 38. He's one of the more interesting guys I've ever had on the show. Black belt in jiu-jitsu, lived as a homeless person for a couple days, you name it. I think the other story was you practiced retrieving your own water from a well or a lake or something for a while, and you had to, it was a couple miles away or something like that. Yeah. I believe in doing, we're live, right?
Yeah, we're live, brother.
I just start talking over you. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I believe in doing hard things. I think when you choose to do the hard things, it kind of pushes off that disease of comfort.
Yeah.
And I think comfort can like really smash in on you, and then everything bothers you if you're too comfortable. Whereas if you choose to do hard things, then you get to choose what you're doing, as opposed to the universe saying, "Hey, it's time to expand that comfort bubble."
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've the water one was 10 days. The well was 2.6 miles away each way. So every ounce of water that I used, I had to walk and go for, which, you know, when you look at some of the walks that people do in areas that are less fortunate than us here in America, it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
But these challenges absolutely allow me to reset my perspective. In fact, I just last week came off a 5-day fast, 5-day water fast.
Wow.
And that was eye-opening perspective. This sounds bad. Again, I don't want to, I could have gone long, I could have gone much longer. And there are people out there that literally die from starvation. Of course, I don't want to make light of that, but I did realize in that on especially at the end of day 4, like I was contemplating my own mortality.
Wow.
And I was contemplating like, oh, I can see where it's just easier to slip away. Like I don't want to deal with this lack of, I mean, it's just a lack of energy. It's not even like I wasn't craving a cheeseburger the whole time, right? Like it's just, you just don't have energy.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I was like, I could see how people just, you know, when you're going through this, like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And once that happens, then it's like, okay, then that's going to be it. And I think there's a lot of value in thinking about your mortality. And so back to, you know, the overall thing, I've, you know, sat in the complete darkness for 24 hours, although Aaron Rodgers did 4 days, which is fucking insane.
Wow.
You know, I done a lot of things, a couple dozen things like that, where it's 4x4 by 48 challenge, and I don't run, which is running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. You know, things like some people may do on the regular and like, oh yeah, that's super easy. But like, I try to do it anything that scares me or anything I feel like, oh, I don't want to do that. Then it triggers in my head and like, that means you got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. There was a guy that I followed, gosh, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was one of those guys that like does those walks across Antarctica, stuff like that. You know, he just, you know, alone and, you know, in the cold and stuff. And he said he never felt better than when he was walking. So whenever he has an issue, like he and his wife aren't getting along or work's not going right, he'll just walk for 12 hours. Because that's what he did in Antarctica. He'd walk for 12 hours and it'd give him like a whole different perspective. And there's actually a supported walk. Well, I think it's self-supported, but you kind of check in with folks, and it's a 24-hour walk that you got to prepare for. And the preparation is torturous so that the walk is easy. I mean, we're talking like a, you know, I know it's probably less than this, but if I remember correctly, there was like an hour and a half wall sit. Or, you know, a plane holding up. Yeah. And you got to hold a plane. So it's just to get mentally tough for that 24-hour, you know, walk with, you know, no stopping, no sleeping. And I think a lot of people sign up for it, but I don't think a lot of people do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to do it?
Do it? Yeah, okay. I'll fucking do it.
Okay. I'll look it up and send you the info. But there's there's like a 2-page document that tells you what you got to do in preparation for it. And then you kick off and do the 24-hour walk.
Yeah.
All right. Let me write that down. All right. That sounds cool.
Me too.
So
that sounds really, really awful.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for that at all.
Yeah.
But that's perfect. And those are the types of things we do for Gentle Art Lifestyle. We do these things. We coach people through. We call them misogis, but it is these challenges, this type of thing.
Yeah.
Because even like a 5-day fast, 5 other people attempted to do it with me. 3 of us finished it because there's so many things like, if you don't think about, like, I don't know. Let's just take this 24-hour walk because I'm not familiar with this, but if I, off the top of my head, if I was thinking about walking 24 hours, first I'd think, okay, footwear. Yeah. How are your knees? How are your hips? Mm. How are you without sleep? Have you been without sleep for that amount of time? And then thinking about diet, how does that impact your family? How does it impact anything that you have to do the day after, or the day after that, or the day before that?
Yeah.
There's just so many things that we help coach people through that you don't want to just not eat for 5 days. You don't want to just go out and walk for 24 hours because that's going to impact the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And it's, I don't know. It's just easier to have a coach through some of these things. So anyway, for this, I've not heard of this, and it sounds directly up my alley. Although I don't know about that hour and a half wall sit. I don't know. My chicken legs might break, but I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah, it's all kinds of stuff. Like you got to do these exercises, and it's all to build mental strength. And you know, when I did triathlon years ago, I wanted to sign up for an Ironman. Like that's all I wanted to do was an Ironman, and I never signed up for anything I was ready for. So I always had to prep, you know. So I only did, you know, there's a sprint triathlon that's done. You can be done in about an hour, and then there's an Olympic distance triathlon that's about 2 hours, and then half Ironman, and then Ironman. And then so I did one sprint, and I was like, you know, I'll just do an Olympic, and maybe I'll do a half. And then I was like online looking for, you know, I don't know anything about that world, you know, so I'm typing in, you know, Ironman, you know, registration, and everything's sold out. We're talking like Kansas City, you know, right. You name it. No matter where it is, it's sold out. And I didn't understand why, but it sells out in minutes because I think there's only like 2,500 applications that they take. But the trick is you volunteer for one that you want to do, and then you're ahead of the line for registration for the following year. So that's how they get volunteers, and the support's incredible. So you know, and I was discouraged because I didn't know that. And a buddy of mine says, "Hey, well, there's these other races. They're like, I think they call them like challenge races, same distance. They're just not logo, you know, Ironman." And right. I was like, "Oh, I'll check it out." So I found one called Silverman out of Henderson, Nevada, and I signed up right away. You know, full distance, 140.6 miles. And I was like, well, I should probably hire a coach. Like you said, you need coaches to help you, right?
Yeah.
And this guy, Ron, I hired Ron, and he's you know, ultra athlete, you know, super cyclist, all this other stuff, all the accolades. And when I told him what race I was doing, he kind of went like, "You what?" And I'm so naive, I don't know. Yeah. So it turns out it was the hardest. It was hardest iron distance triathlon in the world at the time
because of the heat, I'm guessing.
Because of the elevation changes. So a typical bike race, if you look at, I'm not talking like professional, like amateur bike race. A tough one is about, you know, 5,000 to 6,000 feet of climbing, you know, up and down.
Yeah.
This one I think had between 10 and 12,000 climbing feet. Okay. Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah. And then the run course was hilly also, right? The only thing flat was a swim. And so we trained up for this, and he had me doing things like talking about building your mental toughness is like he had me do a 4-hour run on a treadmill. Yeah. He had me do a 5-hour bike ride on a stationary bike. Nothing is more boring than those two. But you know, no music, just you and your breath, right? But what that did was, you know, when you get out and you're in the middle of nowhere by yourself, because you're not running with a group, right? It kind of mentally prepares you for those highs and lows that you go through. Because on a bike, you could be like, I am the strongest cyclist in the world 1 second. And then you're like, what am I doing out here? You know, I'm getting chills. I hate this, you know? So you go through all the, and I'm sure you experienced that with some of the stuff you did, especially the fast, I can imagine, right?
Yeah. The fast was interesting. Well, first of all, I want to, did you end up doing it?
I did. I finished.
That's congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
a fucking big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I crossed the finish line in, oh gosh, it was like something crazy, like 12 hours and 30 something minutes.
Oh.
Or so. Yeah. It took me a minute. Yeah.
No, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, for doing your first one and a really difficult one, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It was miserable though.
I'm sure. I have a buddy here, a black belt. He has a school down the road, kind of like a sister school. He's done a couple Ironmans, and what's impressive about his Ironmans, at least to me, is like he's built like a stone meatball. Like, you know, he's like 5'6", 195 pounds. You know, like that's not a fucking runner's build.
Right.
You know, like that's not exactly what you see zipping around on a bike or swimming. You know, like. And I always thought it was really impressive that he was able to do that, and again, just mental toughness, I think. You know, and
anyway. And there's things like there's things you can do like to build that mental toughness, but in my opinion, the hard work is the easy part. You know, like getting out there and grinding out on a bike, I could do that. You know what I mean? But watching your diet, making sure you're hydrated, you know, working on your stretching. To me, that's the hard part, because that's the stuff that's easy. Like, I should do that, but I'm not gonna, you know?
Yeah.
That type of thing.
I cheat a little bit, I think, because I tend to, once I say I'm going to do this, I'm pretty congruent with that. So I believe that the secret of life, this is big news. Heard it here first, or on many of my other podcasts. Congruence, I think, is the key to life. And if you are congruent with what you say, what you do, what you feel, all these different things, life is going to be absolutely beautiful. And when you have stress is when things are incongruent. So if you had an expectation of something going a certain way and it doesn't go that way, that's an incongruence. That's stress. And congruence, no stress, everything's beautiful. Ton of incongruence, high stress, things are challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of my anxiety comes from lack of preparation, and I know it. You know, that's why I fight against that. I don't want to feel that way. So that's why I prepare for, you know, the stuff I want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The fast was interesting because I've done many 3-day fasts, and then I do quite a bit 36-hour fast. So I had never done a 5-day, and you would think like 3 to 5 day, you know, like it's not, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a jump, but it really was. The 3-day fast, every 3-day fast that I've done, the first 2 days are just filled with cravings, and cravings and hunger are a different thing.
Yeah.
Cravings, it's like, man, that pizza sounds good. Oh, it's dinner time. I'm supposed to eat, right? Hunger is your body telling your mind. So cravings, mind telling body time to eat.
Yeah.
Hunger, body telling mind, hey, we're going to start eating ourselves over here. So maybe, you know, maybe we should do something about this. Maybe, you know, let's get some food, you know. And that hunger, that feeling of like your body low energy, starting to you know, eat itself quite literally. It's a different experience. Yeah. In the 3-day fast, it was 2 days of craving, and then the third day kind of gets into that hunger. Whereas this, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure if it was like, just I knew that it was going to be longer, and my mind was playing tricks with me. I didn't really have the cravings in the first 2 days I normally do. But day 3, I did have that energy, and I had a headache, and it was just awful. But day 4 and 5 were just super low energy. Yeah. I mean, like, day 4, I still had to work, and I'm a coach by trade, so like I have to be sharp with people.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
Yeah.
I definitely was not.
Was it brain fog or was it fatigue?
Both. I didn't feel sharp mentally, which I thought was going to be the opposite. You hear many people say, oh, I'm just super clear. I was not.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that was the case, but I definitely wasn't. And I was very low energy. And I had kind of banked on being low energy. So I had tried to move as much as I could, but some things you just, you don't want to move, or you can't move, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And it was really tough. But once I got to day 5, I basically sat in the sun and did nothing. And the sun charges you up, and day 5 was okay.
Yeah.
But it was that fourth day and that fourth night where I, contemplated mortality and contemplated my life. And man, I was so grateful that at any given point, if I wanted to be done or I couldn't handle it, I just go to the fucking refrigerator, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what a fucking world. This is the best world in the world. Like, I want some chicken parm. I'm going to go to a fucking restaurant.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
How often do you get to think about that stuff? I mean,
Rarely.
A lot of us take that for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, going on a hunting trip and coming back and turning on the faucet and seeing running water. You're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. You know what I mean? It's just, or hiking, whatever, whenever you're gone for an extended period, those little things are just so nice. Like the air conditioning in a car, or,
for you too.
Yeah.
Being an AZ. Oh my God.
Yeah. But tell me, so what prompted the fast? Were you doing it just to see if you could do it? Was there a medical issue? What was going on?
Well, because I coach people through Misogi's, I feel to be congruent, I have to do Misogi's. And I told you just personally, that's in line with kind of where I want to be. I hadn't done a 5-day fast. I don't know if anybody does. I don't like fasting.
Yeah.
It's not like, like, I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning of the year, I made a list of challenges that I want to do. I have the list on my fridge, but that was one of them. My next, I don't know if it's going to be my next, but I have to jump out of a plane. So I have these Misogi's. And again, to some people, like, I've done that 500 times. It's like the coolest thing ever. Like nothing. That's great for you.
Yeah, no desire, dude. No desire.
I'm genuinely scared. I've been saying that for years and years that I'm going to do it at least once in my life. And so that's what I call a mini Misogi, because I'm going to do it. It's 90 to 100% chance that I do it and I succeed.
Yeah.
Whereas the fast was a maximum Misogi, about a 50-50 shot,
Yeah.
like that I actually get through it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my next thing is jumping on a plane. One of them is run a 6-minute mile.
Okay. Okay.
Which again, for some people, it's like, oh, well, that's super easy. My fastest rate now, if I were to run, would be about an 8.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's 8's good. 8's good.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to shave 2 minutes off of your mile. Now, are you going to, obviously you're going to do a workup for it, but is that something that you're going to put out for, like, did you give yourself like a time frame? Are you on a time crunch to accomplish that?
This year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
man.
I have, like I said, I have this list. I have to do 5 36-hour fasts, 1 5-day fast, jump out of a plane, run a 6-minute mile, run a 25-minute 5K. What else? Yeah, a bunch of things like that.
Man.
I could, if you put little Post-it notes on the podcast, I could just take a picture of it and send it.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
I'm kind of behind, but it's all stuff. Look, what's hard for one person is easy for another, is impossible for another, and it's just, these things are hard to me. I hate running. So every once in a while I have to do things that are running.
Yeah. That was my weak point, running. It was, but I was actually a pretty good runner, but I just didn't like doing it. I just hated it. And, for a while it was like, well, it's something you have to do. It's like, the third leg of the triathlon is going to be running. So you have to run. And, but after a while it's not really getting in shape more than it's just conditioning, because I wasn't in better shape when I did my full distance triathlon. I was not in better shape than when I was doing Olympic distance triathlons. And, the hours on the road are extremely fewer when you're doing the Olympic distance, but you're just conditioning your body to a point where you're like, okay, well, an 8-mile run is a short run. Anything above 10 is a longer run, but that's when your body's more conditioned. I don't think you're in better shape other than you're just conditioned.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I could make a recommendation for the, jumping out of an airplane, go to Skydive Arizona and Eloy.
Well,
only because I've seen their planes, and you would not trust those pieces of shit to land. You would rather jump the hell out of that thing. They're garbage, dude. They look like a FedEx truck with wings.
That's amazing.
That's
a good reason,
dude. Yeah.
Actually, to push this one for Christmas, my girlfriend got me a skydiving, like a pack, I don't know, whatever the skydiving coupon. So I have no excuse. It's already paid for.
That's cool. That's cool. It could turn into something. I don't know. It could turn into something for you. I've had a friend who, his wife gave him like a $500 gift card for a pilot's lesson, like a lesson, and he ended up getting his pilot's license in like 6 months. He just fell in love with it. I think he bought a plane. I think he bought like a little single. I'm serious.
And now he's a pilot for that company, jumping with the FedEx with wings,
with the crappy Eloy planes.
It's a full circle story. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to do a tandem? Or are you going to do static line?
Yeah. I don't think. Well, I think you have to do extra training. I just strap me to some dude or chick or whatever. I don't care. Just let me get it done. Yeah. And look, I'm such a big proponent of the narratives we tell ourselves. The narratives of like, oh, I'm bad at this, or I can't do this, it's all bullshit. You can, and maybe everything's on a scale. You can get better at whatever we're talking about, right? Yeah. So I'm always careful of the narratives that I tell myself, like, oh, this is going to be awful. This is going to be so scary. No, it doesn't have to be. So many people do this for fun. Like, why not learn how to tap into that, right? Why not try to find peace in a situation that maybe I find, quite scary, but others fucking love it. So tap into that. Learn how to tap into that. Change the narrative.
Yeah.
At least, that's my thought, at least.
Yeah, and one thing that my mom said before she passed away, we were talking to her oncologist, and there's a little bit of a language barrier. She spoke really good English, but it wasn't her first language. And she was hopped up on a lot of painkillers, so there was a little bit of a brain fog there. But the doc's explaining to her, where the situation that we're in, and he looks right at her and he says, "Well, what would you like to do?" And she looks at him and she says, "I want to get better." And unfortunately for her, that was not in the cards.
Right.
But I think it's important for people to understand that as long as you have breath in your body and the will, you can get better at anything. And she didn't have that opportunity because, it is what it is. Cancer's really, really tough. But if you don't have cancer and you don't have those restrictions on your body, then it's all in your head. And you can get better. You could possibly be a great skydiver one day. Fear or not, right?
You'll see me in a squirrel suit next year,
Breaking records. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Have you ever read the book A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl?
I have. Great book.
That is number one. Yeah. My absolute number one. And it sums up exactly what you're saying. Any man that has a strong enough why can endure anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What about As a Man Thinketh? You ever read that one? It's it might be 15 pages long. It's a short read, but it's a great book. It's basically, it starts from the root, to the fruit of the tree. Whatever you project, whatever you think, whatever you manifest, that's the fruit of it, right? So if you have good things at the root, you have good fruit. And if you don't, you don't. And it's really all in your brain. It's between the ears.
Have you read The Alchemist?
I have not.
Oh, well, now we both have one. That I can't believe I hadn't read that up until I think last year is when I first read it.
Okay.
Now I've read it twice. It's told as a story, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that's cool. What about so you're coaching people through these misogis, and tell me about that. Is it somebody that just rando comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to do this. And you're like, hell yeah, let's go. How does that work?
Sometimes, yeah. So this is a new product that I just started officially maybe February, March.
Okay.
And so yeah. So there's been a couple people that have been like, yeah, I would like to do, like, and it's like camp, like one of them's like be out in nature for 48 hours by yourself. Like to some people that's like every weekend, right?
Yeah.
And to other people, like that's scary as fuck to not have your cell phone on and to not, so things like that, things like I helped Alan get through Kilimanjaro. Helped one of our coaches to do a 4x4x48 challenge, not running, but roll for 40 minutes every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. So I ran for 4 miles every 4 hours. He rolled for 40 minutes every 4 hours.
Wow.
And so there's just a ton of planning that goes into that. Yeah. Like you can't do that one alone.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's a couple others, but sometimes they're not like necessarily hard, like that you would perceive, but they're hard for that individual, right?
Yeah, and if I could just go back to the person that wants to camp for 48 hours, my wife and I were glamping. We had the RV, but we were up in a place called Clint's Well. And what I love about Clint's Well is like there's no cell service. Like there's nothing. You're up on the rim. You're at 7,000 feet. It's fantastic. Just beautiful up there. But she was sleeping in, and I thought, well, I'll just sit outside, play with the dogs a little bit, And with all that calm, quiet, it was just me and my brain. And I woke my wife up, and I was like, hey, I don't have a positive thought in my head right now. Can you please get up and talk to me? Because I hadn't been alone with my thoughts in so long that it was like a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So now I know that's something I have to do more often, to be alone with my thoughts. And I think that 48 hours camping alone that'll bring out a lot of stuff. It'll be a good reset.
Yeah. Is there, I'm going to make a prediction here.
Yeah.
My prediction is you don't meditate very often.
I do not.
Do you tell yourself that you are bad at meditation?
While I'm meditating, yes. I'll do like some breath work, but then the thoughts just start creeping in, and then I just can't shut off the brain. And I'm sure it's a lot of like the stuff I'm putting into my head through social media and all that stuff. I'm sure that doesn't help. But yeah, no, I honestly, with meditation, I've heard, just focus on your breathing, and I'm like, okay, for how long? I don't know,
So I think, this is funny that this is a podcast because this is quite literally just a conversation between us right now. But
right.
Like, it may be like, whatever. But I have a meditation program that I'll just send you.
Yeah.
And then like, basically the program is we start at 1 minute a day. Any sort of meditation. I go through 4, and on like my Patreon, I have like 4 different ways that I personally meditate. I don't care really what it is. And there is no wrong way to do it, but just starting to do it. 2 actions that I think have been most impactful for coaching clients have been either meditation or gratefulness, or both. Starting a habit of either one of those.
Yeah.
So, let me do that for you. So we'll talk offline or whatever, but it'll send you a text every day. Did you do your 1 minute,
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And then you can check which one you did. And it's literally saying, yes, I will commit to this for 1 month, where it's 1 minute. And then I'll follow up with you, when you're having troubles, or, we set up a couple times in that month where it's like, hey, what's going on in your head, or what, and if you do it for more than a minute, fuck yeah, cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'd love that. That'd be cool. Yeah. And I had, so this is kind of funny. Maybe you can help me through this one. I feel like this is a therapy session. This is awesome. I have an issue with, I love to journal. And part of the reason I started doing this podcast is because, you know, I don't remember the sound of my grandfather or my great grandfather's voice. And I just want my kids or my grandkids to be able to listen to this stuff and, I don't know, hear my thoughts, you know? So I have a bunch of journals, and I struggle with, I mean, do I want a written journal? Do I want an electric journal? You know, something electronic. And sometimes, and I have journals and notes scattered everywhere. Do you have a process that you follow that's, that helps you kind of, I'm assuming you journal, but do you handwrite? Do you do electronic? What do you do?
So that's the fun thing about assumptions. Makes an ass out of you and me, right? I hate that fucking saying. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I actually don't journal.
Oh, really? Okay.
I take all sorts of notes throughout the day. And I'm taking notes like now. I have that S22 Galaxy, and like I just literally write notes, like physically write notes.
Yeah.
So I have notepads of different ideas and that kind of stuff. And then when I do something, I write blogs. So like I just posted my blog on the Gentle Art Lifestyle Patreon about the 5-day fast, and I'll do stuff like that. I have many clients that love to journal, and normally in our day, because I believe in doing anything daily, like starting off small and creating different action, because different action gets different results. So daily, I normally put like little pieces like where they can journal and just, you know, and some people choose to do it, some people don't. But my process isn't that. Like I've just never and never felt compelled to. Like never felt like a reason to. Yeah. And I wonder if that's like I don't have kids, so maybe you know that's something that maybe there's something there. But yeah, no, I don't have any good. I can't help you with the journaling other than you know a daily routine where clients do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so with the Gentle Art Lifestyle, what? I mean, obviously, like, you know, it sounds jujitsu based, but it seems to me like you're hitting on all kinds of facets of life, right? People just come to you and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, if you don't have any experience with that, do you personally put yourself in that situation to kind of help guide them through what they want to accomplish?
The job. So let me back up just a little bit. So first, the job as a coach is never to tell you, like, at least how I look at it. It's not to tell you how to do things or especially tell you what to do. It's to give you perspective, to allow you to see, you know, that old parable of the elephant, like one guy's holding the tail, like, oh, it's a snake. And one guy's holding, you know, whatever. The coach should be able to see the whole elephant and tell you, hey, this is an elephant. You're going to want to, you know, fucking treat it as such.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at coaching in general. So if it was something that I knew nothing about, like journaling as an example, it would be more asking questions from different perspectives about journal. What are you trying to get out of journaling?
Okay.
What is your ultimate milestone? Are there milestones with this? Is this just something to get something off your mind? Like it's just different perspectives.
Yeah.
And then again, once you have perspective, you have information, more information, and the more information you have, the better decisions you can make.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. And what's the weirdest, or I guess the most daunting thing someone's asked you to coach them through?
That's a tricky one because addiction is probably the answer, and I don't do addiction.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Now it's interesting because sometimes people come to me because they know that I coach, but I'm not like they're, again, perspective. I don't have the answers. I don't know how you're supposed to stop drinking. I don't know how you're supposed to quit smoking. I mean, I've read books on it. I understand. I could give you actions that you want to take, but like, that's not, especially things down that road and some worse drugs and, you know, that to me is, again, not something I do. So if you're listening out there in a podcast, like, oh, this guy can help me quit smoking. No, please don't come to me for that.
Right, yeah.
But those are really, really challenging.
Yeah.
Like those addictions, because they're just really challenging.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean
would say
it's a disease, man. I mean, there was a documentary. I'm not a fan of professional wrestling, but I followed it as a kid. Just watching.
Yeah,
stuff
who
like
didn't?
that.
Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan and
yeah. So there was a guy named he was Diamond Dallas Page. You ever hear about him?
DDP, absolutely.
Yeah, DDP.
Yeah.
So,
got his own yoga now.
Yeah. Have you seen? There's a film that he made called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Mm-mm.
So
Never even heard of it.
So remember Jake the Snake? He would bring out that python. He'd lay it on people, and he had cobras and stuff. He was another wrestling personality. And he was really big back in the day. Well, he got into crystal meth and alcoholism and all this stuff, and it was going really bad. So DDP took him into his house and started doing the yoga stuff with him. And he had some setbacks and all this other stuff. And it was him and another guy, maybe Shawn Michaels, something like that. But there was got him clean. It was a struggle, but they got him clean. And one thing that that Jake said was, he says, addiction kind of works like this. One drink is too many, and 1,000 drinks is not enough.
Mm.
So
That's
overcoming
fucking beautiful. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, like you said, man. There's experts that try to help people and fail. So it's not something that we're qualified to do. That's for sure, man.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. But
that's how I feel about it.
What's pretty typical? What's a typical thing that people come to you with?
So I have two businesses, and I have Gentle Art Lifestyle, which houses everything that I plan on doing for the rest of my life. So I don't ever plan on retiring. That doesn't make sense to me. I want to do things that I love to do.
Yeah.
So in Gentle Art Lifestyle, I have White Lotus, which is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym.
Yep.
I do Wim Hof method events and cold exposure and breathing. I do personal coaching, like we're kind of talking about now. All these things I just frankly love to do. On the other side, I have a business that is coaching as well. That's for business to business. That's talent retention and culture.
Oh, okay.
So that is like where I spend that just makes more money.
Yeah.
It just does. So that's where I spend a bunch of my time. And then there's the personal coaching side.
Yeah.
So what was your question about the personal? I want to set that kind of, that's what I do. I do have a few coaches that also that do personal coaching on the Gentle Art Lifestyle side, but
yeah, I just want to know what a typical, on the Gentle Art Lifestyle stuff, what's a typical thing that people bring to the table and say, hey, I want to accomplish this, and maybe you can help me.
A lot of times it's accountability on something.
Yeah.
So really anything, like it could be like, I just had a new client call last week that he's thinking about starting a new business. Okay. Well, I'm weirdly qualified because it's not only these businesses I had, like my previous career, I owned a bunch of bar restaurants. We had, 7 locations. I had 5 different cafes. I had 200 plus employees. So and I went through a certain scale, when I sold, I think we did 10 million, that year.
Okay.
So like, I have some idea of scale of different stuff. And I've helped a lot of people help get their business off the ground. Anyway, so like he's coming to me for accountability. The challenge is that it's not just, I want to start a business. Well, what else is going on in your life? Right. Well, I just got a new fiance. I also, I don't think hopefully I'm not stepping over. I may participate in some things like that. Maybe I don't want to sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so how do those things don't live in a silo. How do we make sure that the weight of those things don't get in the way of what you actually would like to do?
Okay.
And oh, by the way, do you actually want to do it? Right. So like, let's just take starting a business as an example. Well, if you start a business, how does that affect the comfort that you have started? How does that affect the relationship that you have with your fiance? How does that, are you ready for working long nights? Do you know exactly what you want to do? Are you ready for rejection? Are you ready for the highs and lows? There's a ton of reasons why not to start your own business. It's not just like, oh, start your business, be rich, cool, right? Like, and even rich people are fucking not happy half the time or more. So Yeah, so that just it's top of mind because it just was last week. I have other clients that are fucking studs, but they realize that they're like I just provide perspective that they don't see. So like, they're vice presidents of sales for tech companies. They're design guys. They're like quite successful people that like it's just good to have somebody that you can talk to that is going to give you. I don't ever judge. Alex, if you're like, hey man, I would be really happy, uh, fucking living on the street. And like, I think that would be best. And we talk about it and you have all these reasons and okay, yeah, I'm not here to live your life. Like, I don't tell you how to live I don't know what's best for you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. So like, I never judge them, which I think is helpful. And then I provide perspective. And most of the time, like, especially people that have money, it's like, for some reason, empathy, like you lose a little bit of empathy. So having somebody coming from an empathetic perspective,
Yeah.
Is useful.
Yeah.
So I have, I have that edge. And then, there's most of the clients they don't have like problems that you would say. They're just really high performers and they want to continue that.
Yeah.
And so to get better and better, they just have somebody there holding them accountable to their actions.
No, that's good. I just the question that I always have is, well, I always think about like attributes, right? And people that are rich and miserable. What do they share any kind of attributes? Are there reasons? Can you pinpoint something why that is?
Yeah. Well, two things that come to mind. One, I was having a conversation with one of the former owners of the Milwaukee Bucks, who is a billionaire.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what being a billionaire, what can, like, does it make you happier? Is there a certain level, because like I've made some money over time, right? Like, but is there a level where it's like, whatever? He's like, this is my favorite answer. He's like, yeah, you can just do more cool shit. He's like, there were some islands in Georgia that I went to as a kid, and they had a bunch of like hotels and whatever, and they were having some problems, and so I bought them, and I revamped everything. And like, yeah,
that is cool, man.
Right, right. Like, I like basketball, so I'm gonna buy an NBA team.
Yeah,
right. Like that's neat.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but there's billionaires out there that like, it's never enough. It's never enough.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go into what I say. What I say is that they have been programmed through the culture, through their parents, through whatever, that the game of life is the game of money.
Mm.
And once you've won the game of money, because like if you have $1 billion, you fucking won the game. You don't need 100, not even need. There's no difference in your life.
Yeah.
You can still buy those islands.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
When you have all your person in the identity of this person who makes money, and this is life. Once you've won that game, then what?
Mm. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to keep playing this sad game.
Yeah.
It's not, like, and so if you're rich guy McGee out there, and by the way, I have some rich guys. It's awesome. It's way cooler than being poor.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on it, but like your identity does not need to be wrapped up in making money. It's not that the only game in town is not making money.
Yeah. So if somebody comes to you with that issue, obviously, I mean, having money is not the issue, but not being happy. How do you give them a little perspective? Like, what can you coach them? How can you coach them to be happier, I guess?
Yeah. So something to know, like any coach that says that they do anything for you is wrong. All they can do, in my opinion, is provide perspective. So I would never tell them, hey, you should do this and you will succeed.
Yeah.
The answer to the spirit of your question is I would get them on a 1 minute a day, every single day gratitude habit.
Mm.
And then every week, because most of my clients I talk to on a weekly basis, every week, then we say, okay, well, what were the challenges, in life now? It sounds easy, like, oh yeah, that's one gratitude, 1 minute thinking about things I'm grateful for. When you're in a bad position, you in the middle of the desert with no cell phone, how hard would it have been to just think of something that you're grateful for, right? Like,
yeah.
it doesn't even register,
No, it was all negative.
Yeah. So having a habit, which is like the framework for your life of, okay, I can go to that gratitude, that would be where I would start.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Not that I'm a billionaire that needs that coaching, but I think everybody does, right? I mean,
every fucking me included, everybody could benefit from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And like, this is what I and my coaches happen to do for a living. So perhaps our perspectives are a little bit more robust than your best friend Billy.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever read the book? It's a the Sandler sales method. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. Okay, so it's a book about sales. Okay, so building rapport, talking about budgets and taking people through this sales process, and we used it religiously in my former job when I was in corporate sales. And it was something like, the team would get together and we would talk about the what things are going on. And then we would have these role play things where we do the Sandler sales method. And, it's all about building rapport and then moving forward. One day I asked a question because I tend to answer questions in a kind of roundabout way because there's things that going on in my head. If I don't give you a direct answer, it's because it's just my brain. It's the conversational diagram. But we talk about, okay, so what do you guys want to go over today? And we're like, oh, let's talk about, talking to the customer about money, bringing that up. And how do we approach that? What's some techniques we can use? And one day I asked, well, what about chapters 1 through 3? Chapters 1 through 3 talk about your roles versus your identity, knowing who you are, putting in the work, right? Of understanding is, like you said, is this really something you want to do? Because there's no sense in going into chapter 4. I don't remember if it's exactly chapter 4, but there's no sense in going into that, customer facing bonding and rapport if you don't have any idea who you are and why you're doing this. And that's something that people, remember when I said grinding it out is the easy part? Well, chapters 1 through 3 is the hard part. Putting in that work on yourself, right? Before you walk in front of a customer, because otherwise you're just putting on a show. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. I had in the middle of those are great points. In the middle of that, my hamstring cramped up. And so I don't know if you saw it. I'm like, oh, no, just don't make any, he's making a really good point.
Oh, gosh, that's funny.
So if you saw that, I apologize.
All good.
I did some rolling earlier, and apparently I got some waters and some tea here, but apparently must not be hydrated enough.
Yeah, not yet.
Anyway, I apologize for that.
All good.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fun. Yeah, so it sounds like you're the perspective that you offer is I think you start with that why, right? Why are you doing this? Is it something that you really want to do?
Yeah, a lot of times it's why, but also like so something I use. There's certain things that I've found that are relatively sharp when coaching whatever I happen to be coaching, and one of them that I use consistently when I'm personal coaching is stress backpack. And because we all carry around a stress backpack, and quite literally, if anybody's ever been depressed or high anxiety or just really stressed out, it literally feels like a weight.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I was depressed, like getting out of bed was fucking hard. Like, like it's not exactly a weight, but it is a weight.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I talk about stress backpack quite frequently, and my mind went back to that time, and now I've lost my train of thought. What was the question? I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. No, we were talking about starting with why, and
Yeah.
and the perspective that you offer.
Yeah. So I find out how much you're carrying
Mhm.
first,
Yeah.
and many people carry quite a bit, and so okay, what can we do? What action can we take? What action are you willing to do on a regular basis to help take that stress out of the backpack? If somebody is carrying a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if they're coming to me and they're just looking to sharpen a sword, okay, well that's a little bit different.
Yep.
But yeah, because again, nothing lives in a silo. Like
Yeah.
you can think, oh well, that's just work. Well, that's just my family life. Well, that's just my jujitsu life or
Yeah.
whatever. It's all in the same backpack.
Yeah.
It's all within you.
Yeah. It's I talk about the perspective of a jiu-jitsu coach a lot because that's kind of that's what I do. But you know, when I'm teaching kids, they either number one are being forced to be there by their parents, right? Or number two, they're into so many activities that this is just another activity that they're into. Or there's a kids that are just like they're down, they're into it, right? But they all have their own little reasons as to why they choose not to do a technique or just don't kind of get it, right? And that's on the coach, right? We have to find a way to meet them where they are. I find that teaching adults is way harder because adults will tell you what they can't do right off the bat. I can't do that. Really? You can't do that? Like,
You're right. Yes. You're 100% right. They definitely do that. They do that in life too. Oh, I can't do that. Nope.
Yeah. What is that? Why are we so, and I'm guilty of that too, man. Like, I'm not innocent in this. Why is it that we lead with, I can't?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just habitual behavior.
Yeah.
Like you may have tried it once and your expectation of how good you should have been at it was incongruent with how good you were at it.
Yeah.
And therefore you decided to make this narrative that believes, hey, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I think it's really that simple.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
And because look, I would never be Michael Jordan, right? Like I would never be like could I have made it to the NBA if I did exactly what he did? I don't know. I'm a 6 foot 165-pound white guy. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not. But could I have played college basketball? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Like I could have, like, so it's a scale, like we said at the beginning of it. It's just, it's never, I can't do that. It's just like, oh, in my head, I feel like I can't do it to an ability that I think is, okay.
Yeah.
And therefore, I'm going to say that I can't do it because I don't want that embarrassment, or I'm fearful of what people may judge me on.
Yeah, man, that's big. I mean, I think the fear of embarrassment is like at the top because I mean, no one wants to be injured, right? So they're a little afraid. They're a little afraid of getting injured. Especially, I'm talking specifically about jiu-jitsu. No one wants to be wrong, right? And no one wants to be embarrassed. So they have those. If they're if their backpack is full of that kind of stuff, it's hard to overcome, but watching people overcome it is freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome.
Yes.
Dude. Yeah. It's such a rush, man. I had a student, she's not with me anymore, but she's doing great. She's running marathons now.
Cool.
Yeah. Her name's Victoria. We called her Tori, and Tori was, a heavier woman. And
she's running marathons now.
She's running
marathons.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Fuck yeah, Tori. Shout out to Tori. But
when
she started jiu-jitsu, she was completely red, sweaty. She couldn't front roll. Okay. But what she would do is she would walk across the mat and she would do the front roll motion and then take a couple steps, front roll motion. Same thing with the back roll. She would sit and she would throw her feet back and then take a couple steps and do it until one day she nailed a front roll. And just the look on her face, dude, the look, I'm getting choked up. It was so awesome. And that kind of sparked other things like, what else can I do? What else can I? Now she's running marathons, dude. It's awesome. Yeah. Like she overcame a lot.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing. And look, like that little action has now created this giant wave of now she's running marathons, And how much better, like that little action that probably sucked. Like it probably was embarrassing. Like I can't do a front roll.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these people, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm sure that she was thinking that, you know, or something of that nature. Right.
Yeah.
But because she was able to face those fears and take those little actions, now that fucking wave is unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah. And imagine like the room is like, there's 30 people in the room and she can't front roll. You know what I mean? And like,
no, dude. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, she's awesome, dude. I miss having her around, but she came to visit. And so she and her husband trained with us and her whole family. And then they had they had some issues and they had to take care of them. Man, they walked through the door. I did not recognize them. I didn't recognize, James looked awesome. Tori looked awesome. The kids looked awesome. They just like, as a group, they just kind of changed their lives. It's so freaking cool, man.
Yeah. And how cool is it for you that you put in that time and effort into like, into somebody that you wouldn't have probably looked at her on the street and been like, jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like you spent the time with her and hey, you're doing great, whatever. And now to see that, I mean, like you said, you got chills. Like,
yeah,
those are the types of things that you want to build off of.
Yeah.
Like those are the types of, those emotions are what I think life is about, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about making money or that game, right? It's inspiring those types of emotions. And I think that was a great story, man.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm sure you have a lot of those. I was going to ask you, you mentioned basketball and you talked about, being a billionaire and being able to buy your own basketball team. Have you ever heard of the owner of the Sacramento Kings? You know who he is? I can't remember his name. So
it's a foreign guy, right?
Yeah, he's from India, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. And if you've been on an airplane, they're probably using his navigation software. So that's his business. Well, his daughter wanted to play basketball, and they needed a coach. He knew nothing about basketball, so he started doing what guys like him do. They started reading about basketball and strategy and what wins games. So he found out that all things being equal, the team that turns the ball over less usually wins a basketball game, right? And so that was like ball handling was what he worked on with these kids. Again, he knew nothing about basketball other than what he had read, but pretty dedicated guy. He fell in love with the sport, found out that the Kings were for sale, and he bought them.
Cool shit, right?
He gets to do cool shit. Yeah, man. Yeah. Dude, isn't that wild? Yeah. So
as long as we're talking about, basketball. So when the Bucks got bought, just after that, so I owned a bunch of bar restaurants. One of the welcoming things was at one of my bar restaurants.
Okay.
And so Steve Ballmer had just purchased the last time at the time that I was talking to the former owner, Mark, because he's since sold.
Okay.
But at the time he was like, he was talking about, first of all, I guess there is a billionaires club. Like they actually really do know each other.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, there was like quite a few different groups that were trying to buy the Clippers. And all these different groups, one of them I think Oprah was a part of, and like all these like famous people trying, whatever. And I guess there was like some meeting where, you know who Steve Ballmer is?
No.
From Microsoft. Okay. No. So like co-founder of Microsoft.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bill Gates.
Yeah. He's the guy. Yeah.
So I guess, and this is years later, so I'm sure I'm not telling any secrets, but he walked in and he's like, look, I am 20 billion liquid right now.
Oh, gosh.
What do you think that you're going to do? I will buy this team no matter what.
Yeah.
And he just flexed them.
Wow. That is a flex.
Like apparently he had made I think he bought the team. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. I think he bought the team for $2.1 billion. The Bucks owners bought the Bucks like 6 months previous. Again, this has been a while, so please, if you're fact checking, in the realm of 6 months beforehand for $550 million.
Wow.
you know what that does for the valuation of the Bucks?
Oh yeah.
So when I was talking to Mark, I was like, dude, like you just made a boat ton of money, didn't you? He's like, yep. He's like, thanks, Steve. Like,
yeah, it's awesome, man. Wow.
But, yeah, I wonder if yeah.
So,
just cool shit.
Yeah, Mark Cuban. I think Mark Cuban bought the Mavericks for like $258 million or something like that. It's like,
yeah, no, you couldn't. I mean,
no
if you're
way.
gonna buy them from them, I mean, I don't even know what, but way more than that. Another really random thing. I don't know. We're talking about rich people, but like, you don't ever purchase anything that would like dent your net worth in any sort of way. Makes more money. You can't help but make more money at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because like you could buy a fucking Lamborghini, and what the fuck does you buy a Lamborghini every month? It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like,
man.
Like none of that stuff matters because that stuff depreciates. Like that's fake. Like you buy islands, or you buy a team, or you buy whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, huge hotel chain or whatever.
Yeah.
All that stuff makes more money.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Like obviously you can run it in the ground, but those people don't get that for, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, like where, you and I might take risks or we might say, oh, I'm buying myself a Lamborghini today. Right. But can I afford these, ridiculous payments or whatever? It's not, it's just a different, everything that they buy.
Yeah. So, one of my customers back in the day, I did commercial AC, and this guy wasn't really a customer because he never bought anything from me. He was a guy I talked to a lot. He had, but he had like 4 million square feet that he was responsible for. He was a facility director for a major automobile company, and they had race teams, and they were huge. And out here, they have all of the high end cars go through them, right? So he was telling me that, like, the what did he say? The slowest. Oh gosh, how did he put it? The people that were doing the least in the company were the people in the finance department, because rich people, they're not going to finance a car. They just buy a car.
Right.
They just buy a fucking car. You know what I mean? Like, so they had, it was like Ferrari, Rolls Royce, stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, they're not going to the finance department for that, man.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah. So yeah, and I drive a 20-year-old Jeep, 21-year-old. In my former job, I drove this old Jeep, and I love it. I love the thing.
Yeah.
I'm never getting rid of it. And I remember my sales manager. We were having a quarterly thing, and I was on plan, and everything's fine, and we're just having a good conversation. And he's like, man, what do you want? What do you want out of life? And I'm like, man, out of life, I want a lot of stuff, right? But, for me, it's mostly family type stuff, But he's like, I would love to see you in a brand new Bronco, and he's talking about all these material things, and I'm like, Brian, do you think I can't afford a car? Like, like I can buy a car, man. I just love that old beat up Jeep, so.
Brian is who I would get hired to coach, because he is not understanding what's going on and what motivates people in the culture of a business.
Yeah. It was all material stuff. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, when a nice big commission check went in, I was happy, you know what I mean? And,
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But once you win that game.
Yeah, dude. I didn't think about it that way. That's wild, man. That's wild. Yeah. So tell me more about the, oh gosh, what was the second company you were talking about?
My Odyssey.
My Odyssey. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I started out with personal coaching, and then I realized like some of the people that I was coaching, I just knew from business.
Yeah.
And I could help them with their business. And it was always kind of my line to be the person thinking about culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then because like I was able to help them, then that kind of spurred, and then I had to make a decision of not like, I would like to build my Odyssey to be a company that I can sell in the future.
Yeah.
Long term.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. And anything that's housed in Gentle Art Lifestyle, I love. And then the reason I say talent retention now is just because that is a problem that many companies have, and it's such a costly one.
Yeah.
it's not just, oh, we're going to be without this particular position for 3 to 6 months, right? It's paying somebody, $50,000 to find that person. It's the training. It's being without them. It's not understanding how that impacts the team. It's so many different things and so many different variables. So you're better off at least attempting somebody like me before you either get rid of somebody or before like your team quits or it's just to me it's a no-brainer. To me it's like, can I come in and talk with leadership? And ultimately it's really weird because I do the same thing as I do in personal coaching. Okay, first I have to build, the only difference, no, it's not even a difference. I have to build trust. So like I normally spend the first couple weeks, maybe even a couple months getting the leadership teams to trust me.
Yeah.
And normally that means listening to what they have to say and then getting something done for them.
Yeah.
So, if it's a leadership team that reports back to the VP, which reports back to the CEO, many times I'm working with the CEO as well. And I'm saying, hey, this is what they're actually saying. This is the problems that they won't communicate to you. Can we get this done? Well, no, because this, and this. Okay, what can we get done that looks like we're doing something for them?
Yeah.
So then we create win-wins.
Yeah.
And then from there, once they trust me, then I get to hear about everything, right? What is actually in their stress backpack. And once that starts to happen and they can release that, then I become like the business therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once we have that, then they're less likely to say, well, fuck this place, because now this place cares.
Yeah.
Like, Josh has proven that he can get something done. Josh has proven that this company does care. And because there's always two sides to every story, right? And like sometimes people get so angry about what their company does, but realistically, there's a good reason for it. And leadership just doesn't have the communication is just not there.
Yeah.
So that's normally that's kind of like a snippet of what I would do is, or at least how I end up working with somebody.
How do you handle, it's kind of like a a business thing, when you're building, when your business is failing, you can't blame your customers. How do you handle a manager that blames employees? Like I send emails, but they never reply, or I call, and they don't talk to me. And how do you get a manager to kind of get some perspective, so to speak, and understand that you can't blame the employees?
Yeah. Again, so I live by this phrase: you can never tell anybody anything.
Gotcha.
So most of the time in that scenario, it would be a listening thing. So he's constant in the portrait that you have given me. It sounds like that particular person creates wins for himself and is not listening for wins for his team. And eventually that's going to get old.
Yeah.
So how do I get that person to understand that the workers also are people? Right?
Yeah.
And then like get him to listen to them. That normally starts by me listening to him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. And you say it takes a couple months to build that rapport. But I imagine once you get going, it becomes like you're just part of the team, right? And you're just kind of working 100%. With them. Yeah. That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah. And 100%. It takes some days, first day, whoop, you and I, Alex, already, you trust me, I trust.
Yep.
No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then some people it takes months.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. So what type of companies do you target? Because for me, when I was doing my my targeting, it was like a certain size building with owner occupied, blah 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 blah. Is there like a typical client that you target?
It's all word of mouth, so it depends.
Okay.
I haven't worked with any so I have done some stuff for like Samsung and Sprint, but that was like that was lower on the totem pole.
Okay.
So that was not, yeah. But yeah, I think the biggest company I worked with was doing like 50 million.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's a pretty big company.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Otherwise down to a couple million, 15 employees.
Okay.
So somewhere in that, as you say that, the way that you structure it, like you're creating persona of like, what is my target demographic?
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Okay,
And
cool.
Now that you're saying it, perhaps I should.
Well, you know, for me, it was like, it takes the same amount of work to deal with a 5,000 square foot facility than it does a 250,000 square foot facility, right? So the same amount of hours, same amount of legwork, and so, but one makes more money than the other, obviously. So that's kind of why I asked, like, you know, is there a specific, you know, size number of employees or anything like that you look for?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd like to work myself up to the biggest companies. Actually, you know what really sounds fun is sports teams.
Oh, that'd be so
I would
cool.
like,
Yeah.
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak that into existence.
Yeah, man.
I think, you know, if you're out there and you have a sports team, since we're all talking about basketball teams, and you have a player that isn't getting along with the other players, call me.
Yeah,
that's what I do. Talent retention.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, people downplay how important it is to retain talent because, like you said, you know, you got to pay a headhunter to find them. So that costs money and, you know, training them up. And then when you lose a good employee, hopefully it's for a good reason. Maybe they moved on or, you know, retired or something like that. But it's a nightmare replacing a pivotal employee. It's a nightmare because let's say you hit a home run and you found the guy. You know, first time up. You know, my old guy retired, new guy came in. He's freaking awesome. Now he gets a DUI. Well, shit. Okay, we have a zero tolerance policy. We got to get rid of him, right? And now you're in this endless cycle of hiring and firing, right? And no one wants to be wrong about the person they hired, so you keep him around even though he's not working out, all that stuff. So losing an employee, you know, to something other than, you know, something good is it's just a nightmare. And I've seen it happen many times.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And yeah, it's interesting that people I don't know that there's that many businesses that do what I do and that take this approach, because normally it's like it's not coaching, it's consulting, right? I'm a consultant. But I purposely say coaching because I don't have a blueprint, nor do I think there's a blueprint for every business. Like, you can follow stuff, and I think it definitely helps. But what we're doing is we're targeting certain groups or certain people, and like there's a nuance that goes with it. Like, I really feel like what makes me or us better is like I can listen to that person, and I can help give all sorts of different perspectives on how to handle this. And like, if this doesn't work, well, then I can go to this, or I'm not listening. I need to. There's so many different ways to do it that I think that I can provide, as opposed to like, oh, here's what we do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's room for that too.
Yeah. I wonder, like, I don't want to ask this question, but it's on my mind. Has there ever been like a company where you're like, yeah, I can't help these guys?
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to say the company, but yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's why. If the whoever's at the top, so whether it be an owner, founder, CEO, if they're not bought in to listening and making adjustments, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
If we're talking about working with leadership teams,
yeah.
It's just like, and if the person lies, like says, oh yeah, we'll do that, and then doesn't follow through, or yeah, we'll do that, I changed my mind.
Yeah. Those
are incongruences, and those incongruences, there's just nothing that can be done about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you have a leader that just always does, and I hate using always, and
I know,
never, but that consistently does things that are incongruent with what they said they were going to do. Those can be, there's just not much I can do.
Yeah. And for me, you know, I own a very small business, you know, it's just a jiu-jitsu academy, but I have, you know, between coaches and assistants and staff, I got 15 people that I'm responsible for, you know.
How many people are at your gym? That's crazy.
we got about 300 members.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it's
I didn't know your gym was that. It's really neat.
Yeah. So and we're only 4,000 square feet, so we have a lot of classes throughout the day. And one thing I saw a lot of instructors do, which I considered, you know, a mistake, was that's just my opinion, I'm not saying you made a mistake, was giving one person too much responsibility. So your morning coach was also your kids coach, was also your evening coach. That guy gets sick or leaves or goes to another team or whatever. Now you're like, oh crap, I got 5 classes a day I got to cover until I find somebody. So I find, like, you know, a couple morning guys, you know, a couple midday guys, a couple evening guys, and, you know, split up the coaching that way. And then I have my assistants that, you know, they jump in and help, who are awesome. But, you know, you're going to have 15 different personalities, 15 different lifestyles. Hey, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. Hey, I don't look at my phone ever, you know, that kind of thing. Right.
Right.
But I think when you find common ground, and this is not like original to me, I actually learned this from a book, The Power of Habit, I believe it was.
Charles DeWitt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when he talks about finding something that everybody can agree on, and then you build from there. Right. So one thing, especially in the jiu-jitsu world, that everybody can agree on is athlete safety.
Right? No, not everybody can agree upon that, but sure.
But we should. That should be something. That should be something ingrained in the culture, right? Athlete safety. Yeah. Whatever we can do to keep them healthy, that's what we got to do, right?
What a fucking great segue. Yes, continue, please.
Yeah, yes. But you can build off of that. How do you keep people safe? Well, you know, you make sure that they're not running into each other. They're not you know, cranking arm bars, or you get higher belts to work with the lower belts, and they teach them how to drill and they teach them how to be safer. That's what building the team a little bit. What do you call it? The chemistry of the team, and then you can build off of that. Well, hey, what if we knew everybody's name that's on the mat? You know, that gives you like eyes on everybody, and you can encourage people and stuff like that, and you just grow and build outside of that core that is athlete safety, right? If you have a team that can agree on one thing, you can build off of that one thing. So that's kind of how I approach stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's been, you know, in what I do, like understanding how to build a team is something that has come up and is important. And I've run like team building stuff, not only for my old previous businesses, but for this one. I love that. Additionally, mutually shared experiences.
Ooh.
So if you have a mutually shared experience, especially something that's difficult, you tend to gravitate to that. We've been through this.
Yeah.
Right. We've been in the Foxcast hole.
Yeah.
You see what I tried to do at Foxhole?
Like
yeah. All right.
I like it.
There's a dad joke. Okay. So, but as many of those types of experiences as people can go through, I think the better.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So you said, I laugh because people should, to me, safety is number one. Nobody's going to fucking do jiu-jitsu if they get injured the first month.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's just, it makes total sense. Yeah. But, okay. So let me back this story up a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
I believe that every submission can be done painlessly and precisely. I believe that jiu-jitsu should also have a playful nature. So the 3 Ps that I constantly say, it's on the Gentle Art Lifestyle White Lotus page. It's on, like, my students hear me say it all the time, is painless, precise, and playful. Okay. I don't believe that most people know how to apply submissions in a painless and precise way. Any submission. You know, I love guillotines.
Yeah.
I teach guillotines very differently. Compression, not extension. Most people, it's changing just a little bit now, but most people, you know, and I learned it like this too, right? Like, we're full guard all the way around, and then we're just going to rip their head off like it's a dandelion, right?
Yeah.
That, you don't know, and I'm so sorry if that's how you teach it.
No.
We have to know what we're doing. So the reason that any submission can be painless is if we have total control of the person, then the braking mechanic of anything is so small.
Yeah.
Like, if we're doing an arm bar and you have to do it, like, you have to hip in and this huge big motion, then you don't have control of the shoulder. You don't have control of the rotation. You don't have a good connection to the hand. Your hips are away from whatever. There's a million different things that could be.
Yeah.
We don't know that stuff. So I was doing it for Fanatics, and then I chose to do it and put it on my Patreon. But I have painless and precise submissions. I have the 27 what I think would be the most popular submissions that are this is how and why we are doing this in this way.
Nice.
And I get fucking shit. First of all, I'm going to go on a little, like, I get shit because I'm such a fanatic. That was kind of another dad joke. Since I'm such a fanatic with like being like, this has to be precise, that means that I'm not ripping things. I'm not going hard.
Yeah.
I'm having everything in control and then applying something because I'm worried about hurting the other person. And I think the other person's probably going to be worried about,
getting hurt.
Getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you don't know what you're doing or you've never been put in an arm bar or very few or whatever. I'm just using arm bar. Doesn't matter. Name your submission.
Yeah.
And so like, for me, there's people that like not come at me, but like kind of come at me and like, well, no, that's not, especially eco people. Like, no, you should be doing like they have to do it live and figure it out and like it. And I understand what you're saying, but we're not playing tiddlywinks. Like,
right.
Like if somebody rips on somebody's neck, like I have a friend that had a stroke. Like, quite frankly, like Chris Barton, Jiu-Jitsu Insurance, like. Dude, like, like I've seen arms broken. I've seen knees torn apart. I'm sure you have too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
These are real injuries, and these aren't professional athletes. I'm not working with professional athletes.
Right.
I'm working with hobbyists.
Yeah. You
know how many professional athletes that I know of in Wisconsin that let's not say gym owner? I don't know fucking one. I know who the best grappler in the state is, and he doesn't compete anymore, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, so what are we doing here? Yeah. We have professional people, and who cares if they're, but like everybody's got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
So what are we doing? Just letting people like willy-nilly just, go at people's arms, like, or going at people's legs or, oh yeah, I saw this heel hook on YouTube. Let me do this. Like it drives me bonkers. Yeah. I mean, it really does, because the win-win for the gym, for the people, for the instructor is safety.
Mm-hmm.
Win for the gym because people are going to stay there longer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's it. The win for the practitioner because they're not going to get injured as much.
Yeah.
It's still, look, I get it's jiu-jitsu. You could fall on a knee and fuck it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can happen, but mitigate those risks, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then it's a win for the coach because then when they apply something, they're actually applying it really well.
Yeah.
I had one of my white belts on Thursday. He's been training for 6 months, and he's going against a pretty talented blue belt, and he gets him in an arm bar, and I watch him attach his legs. So he doesn't just drape his legs over.
Yeah.
He attaches his legs.
Yeah.
I see him attach the arm to his body.
Cool.
I see his hips directly on the elbow. That fucking blue belt's, move. I mean, he's going whatever. He can't fucking move.
And
that 6 month white belt is able to finish that arm bar because, well, he knows what to do. It's not just like, there's an arm isolated, let me go for it.
Yeah. Right.
Like, so like, because he knew what to do, he got the arm bar, which he wouldn't have in another scenario, and everything was safer.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. So it is just funny that you brought that up, that we should all agree on safety, but people think going hard is what's most important.
Yeah.
And I run into that shit all the fucking time.
All the time, dude. Yeah. And I have some new guys that want to come into the advanced class. I'll let them, if I think they can defend themselves and they have a basic knowledge, right? I don't need them to be experts, but it's kind of, people want to roll, and there's a chance that they may not know what they're doing during a live roll, but I'll tell them, if somebody puts you to sleep, you're out for the day. I will not let you continue rolling. So you better tap. And as soon as your arm gets extended, you're probably if anybody's, 6 months to a year white belt or above and your arm gets extended, just tap. Just live to fight another day, bro. Like, but young guys, they're in there to win. I don't know what they're going to win, but they're in there to win. And, you know, they think that winning is, you know, fighting out of that armbar or out of that choke. But I flat out tell them, man, I'm sorry, but if you get dinged up or you get put to sleep, I can't let you continue. And that's just an athlete safety thing. I mean, it just makes sense.
Absolutely. And what I say is, like, if they have your rotation killed and they have an attached, so the thing that I'll say, if anybody goes on and like I said, it's on my Patreon. If anybody goes on that, they'll hear me say a million times, attach with your legs, attach with your arms, break with your hips.
Yeah.
It's actually, that's easy to say, but it's actually attach with your legs or pin and then attach with an upper piece and then break with hips or core.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think I don't know why we have this thought about, like, okay, you got to go hard. What does that mean? I'm genuinely, like, please, in the comments, if you're listening to this, tell me what it means to go hard. Is it just your heart rate? Like, is that going hard? Is it to the best of the ability to finish the opponent? Is that hard? Is it like, I don't know, but we use this broad general sense of, like, what going hard is. And I think, like, I don't think people understand that, like, people may have different goals in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And so, like, my going hard may be different than your going hard.
Yeah.
And maybe different than the other person's going hard. And also, by the way, none of us really know what that means.
No kidding. How do you define that? Yeah, that's a very, well, I mean, how do you define it in such a way that everyone that you roll with is on board?
I don't know.
It's impossible. I think it's impossible. Yeah. That's interesting. I never thought of it that way. That's really cool. I like that. Huh. All right. But I do things like, sometimes when I see a lot of new faces, or if it's like a open mat, you know, like we just had a Memorial Day open mat. I have two of them usually. Like I'll have a morning and an evening one just to kind of split it up. And but I have kind of my little safety brief before we start rolling. You know, I stop the clock. I have everybody come in, and I tell them, like, if you're wrestling, cool, but you're responsible for everybody that's on the ground, not the other way around. It's not their responsibility to move. It's your responsibility not to fall on them. And then I'll do things like, hey, you know, people turtled up, pulling them over their feet, you know, that could tear the knees. And I just little things like that, like things that I don't want to see on the mat, because I want people to come back. You know, I want people to enjoy it. Like, there's no sense in hurting anybody. And I don't know. The thing is, like, okay, let's talk about going hard again. People go hard and then they hurt somebody and then they feel terrible. Right? You feel horrible when you hurt somebody. Like, I know I did, you know.
Most people do.
Yes, most people
do. Some people say, fuck that
bitch. Him and his weak leg.
Yeah, fucking weak ass leg. I didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
Didn't even do anything.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've been hurt before, and I will admit a lot of it was my fault. I should have tapped, and whatever. Yeah, I didn't. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But
I mean, listen, I've been doing this you've been doing it. How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu?
11 years. Yeah. I started late.
11 years.
I started when I was 40. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So my first jiu-jitsu class was in 2000.
Oh, wow.
And so,
okay.
So like, then there's a 4-year break.
Yeah.
And then I started back in 04, 05, and then been going through since.
Yeah.
So I'm over 20 years. Like, all we had back in the day was fighting each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was fucking it.
Yeah.
Like everything that we did was a fight. It's not as though I forgot that, or I don't know what your interpretation of going hard is. It's that the wisdom that I've acquired over time has allowed me to know that your going hard is dumb. The injuries that I had to go through, the fucking bullshit, like being scared to go into every class because it's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
You know, like,
that
it doesn't need to be that way. And it's not as though I feel like, sure, I'd like to say, yeah, that was back in the day. And, you know, that's just how we did things. Yeah. And now we've learned.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay. Yeah. And what's cool is there's different cultures. And I believe there are some gyms that should be for bros to beat each other up. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. I'm very happy that those are. When you come to White Lotus, that's not us.
Yeah.
Painless, precise, and playful.
Yeah.
And
I love it. Play. what painless, precise, and playful. You know, I think. Oh gosh, I don't know if it was. Maybe Horian Gracie said that when he started making his roles playful, he actually got way better.
Oh, dude, way better.
Yeah,
way better.
Yeah.
Same with me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much better.
Yeah, and do you know who Scott Burr is? He's a black belt out of Ohio, and man, you should talk to him. He's really cool. Interesting dude. He's a writer. He wrote a book with Richard Bressler called Worth Defending. Awesome book. I've read it a few times. And
what's his name? Scott Burr.
Scott Burr, 2 R's. Yeah, and
like Bill Burr, but
yeah. So Scott was on the show. He travels from Ohio to L.A. to train with Rickson Gracie, and then sometimes on his way back he'll stop in and we'll do a podcast. We've done 2 together. And the funny thing is, he called me once and he's like, "Hey, how far are you from Joshua Tree?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So I looked it up and I said, "Oh, I'm about this far." He's like, "Cool, I'll be at your studio at 11 o'clock. Well, I didn't know he spent the night in his car in Joshua Tree and then drove straight here, dude, and then did the podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. So he's an interesting cat, and like he'll and he doesn't go like straight. I think he goes straight to LA. But on his way back, he kind of wanders around the South and does seminars on his way back up, so he's really cool. So,
and he's in my neck of the woods. Ohio's not that far from me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that close, but it's not that far either.
You guys should
connect.
In
Arizona.
Yeah, you guys should connect, man. He's a really cool guy to know. But he was telling me that like a role to him now, because he's been doing this a long time, and a role to him now is like an exchange of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone can't exchange a good idea with him, he really has no desire to roll. He will, out of courtesy, sometimes. But if it's like he wants to learn something in every role. And I think that's a good approach, especially when we're getting a little bit older. I think that's the approach we need to take, to have that exchange and really, I mean, I guess you can call it choosing your training partners wisely, but man, like I would love to roll with you because you could show me gaps in my game like left and right.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. You've been doing this, a long time. But like if I roll with a blue belt, a couple year blue belt, it's just okay. I'm gonna hold him off until he makes a mistake, and then I'll capitalize on the mistake. Yeah. But I really like the way he said it, man. It's like an exchange of ideas. I believe those are the words he used. But man, he's a deep thinker, man. You'd really enjoy a conversation with him.
It's so funny. There's so many like synchronicities that happen in the world. Joshua Tree has come up in my life over the last couple months many times.
Whoa.
So yeah, and like I just feel like I need to go there and possibly take some mushrooms.
There you go, man. Hell yeah. Yeah, man.
Like that just seems like it's got to go on the list.
Yeah. Mushrooms at Joshua Tree. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, maybe we'll schedule the 24-hour walk, Joshua Tree. Like this will be like maybe a little vacation for me.
Yeah, that'll be cool, man. Hell yeah, that'd be awesome.
Anyway, sorry, non-planned vacations on the podcast here.
Yeah, doing a 24-hour walk on a vacation. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds awesome to me.
It sounds great, dude.
It sounds awful, but awesome at the same time.
Just wait to see the preparation for it. It's awful. But yeah, man, I got a question for you, and I'm struggling with this a little bit. And you can give me some really good perspective because, like you said, walking into a jiu-jitsu class 20 years ago was going to be a fight, and you knew it. And things were just different. I'm sure like people wore like wrestling shoes and stuff like that on a jiu-jitsu mat back in the day. I'm sure, stuff like that. But, today is very different. Even from 10 years ago, today is very different. Today, 10 years ago, you did not utter a word about a promotion ever. I don't care if it's a stripe, certainly not a belt. You don't talk to your instructor. You don't talk to anybody about a belt. Today is different, man. Today's different. Yeah. People just openly say, "Hey, am I going to get promoted?" I'm like, I'm sorry, what? My instructor would make me wait another 6 months if I uttered that, those words. But with that being said, Jiu-jitsu has remained the same in a lot of ways in that, there are a few schools that test their students. But that's not really, I don't know if it's looked down upon. I don't look down upon. I think it's a good idea, but I think that's the kind of the direction that we're going, don't you? Like where it's more structured and like time and rank kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. As far as where it's going, I don't know. I think from a business sense, this is going to sound awful, but from a business sense, Taekwondo has it fucking perfect.
Got it nailed.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I mean, there's a certain amount of pride. Like it took me, like I didn't, it took me 16 and a half years to get a black belt.
Yeah.
I grew up in the same environment where you never talked about the belt.
Yeah.
You know, like if you did, and in fact, I can, share with you now, like, I got from my blue belt, it was driving me so insane that like when I got my purple belt, I asked my instructor to not, I didn't want to do any stripes. I didn't want to think about it.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like, what do I have to do? I'm doing this. I'm doing well in tournaments. I'm doing well against other purple belts. What do I, like, it was driving me fucking insane.
Yeah.
There's wisdom in understanding that it's the journey.
Yeah.
Certainly. And, ironically, after purple belt, I didn't think about it.
Mm.
But I don't know what's right. I do take pride in how long it takes to get a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt versus other martial arts.
Yep.
Right. But it's different. Like so let's go back to 2006. YouTube just got created.
Mm. Yeah.
If you're doing jiu-jitsu, you know who you're learning jiu-jitsu from? Your instructor.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Perhaps there'll be a seminar that you have to travel a couple hours to go to in a big city near you. Perhaps you can grab a book with ridiculous pictures. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can get a DVD, right? Like, maybe, I don't even know if DVDs, man, my
Oh yeah, they had
DVD,
I believe so. I believe so.
DVD.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there was still some VHS stuff floating around, at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had DVDs. Yeah.
So now, if you want to learn the best defensive jiu-jitsu in the world, you go pay Preet $15 a month or whatever the fuck it is, and you can ask him direct questions, and he's got a video library of all these different positions.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to learn how to do a guillotine painless and precisely, that's going to actually strangle people instead of hurt people, you can literally message me.
Yeah.
Like you can buy my Fanatics videos. You can go on the Patreon and look at it. All these different things, right? Like you can watch all of John Danaher, who I think is horribly boring, but absolutely the best coach.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
Hands down the best coach.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You can literally have him be your coach via Fanatics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you can move there, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many more options. YouTube, you could go on and find 37 different ways to do an Umapalata to K-guard.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have all this information that's there. So 5 years to, or, let's say 5-6 years to a purple belt, those purple belts in 2006, which were gods, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? Like their purple belts were crazy high. Those are different things. Now you can have a purple belt that gets their purple belt in 4 years.
Yeah.
That would murder that guy.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It's all it is information.
Yeah.
So, earlier in the podcast, I said that the more perspective you have, the more information you're able to take in. The more information you're able to take in, the better decisions that you can make.
Yeah.
It applies in jiu-jitsu as well. You can have so much information. You can take a shit and be on your phone and learn jiu-jitsu.
You really can, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is a fucking crazy world. So, like, some of these promotions that happen, like, fast, like, these are legit. I roll with some purple belts at camp, like, we'll go to these big Globetrotter camps.
Yeah.
Well, some of these purple belts, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long have you been grappling for? 3.5 years. What the fuck?
Isn't that wild?
3.5 years, you know, like,
Yeah.
and then I'll roll with somebody that's been rolling for 20 as well. And I don't have like, they haven't evolved their game.
Yeah.
And so they're, you know,
Yeah.
it's a different world. So that being said, I don't know how promotions keep up with the amount of information that is coming into these people. I mean, there's literally professional athletes now, where it's like you didn't have professional. Maybe you went into MMA, right? Like,
Yeah. Dude, remember when somebody got like a gi sponsorship and you're like, holy crap, he's got a gi you know what I mean? Right?
There's like one manufacturer, you know, like, yes. I mean, like, dude, back in the day, you wore judo gi.
Yeah.
You wore thick ass, hot, fuck. I hated those gis.
Dude. It was like 2 gis. It's literally like 2 gis.
Yes.
Right? Wearing 2.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, you know, it all goes in. I don't know what the right idea is. For me, I can tell you promotions is every stripe and every belt is just an attaboy or attagirl.
Yeah.
Like you, and I say, you know, if you're coming to class 2 to 3 times a week, talking to me a little bit about jiu-jitsu, maybe on the side, sending me a video every once in a while, every 6 months is probably going to be about where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Assuming you're average. I'm not saying that is the case, but about average. And I'm going to give you a piece of tape, or I'm going to give you a different die on a belt, and I'm going to say, hey, you have progressed. I can see where you're progressing. On top of that, I disliked the ability not to talk because it didn't make sense. Why can't we communicate? What about it? What about our relationship? Is it that I can't talk to you about something that's bothering me about this process?
Yeah.
Are you, and pardon me again if this is how you do.
No, it's okay.
But like, are you insecure about about the process that you can't give me an answer as to why or what I should be working on? Right? Like, I'm not, you know, when I was a blue belt, I wasn't suggesting, I just wanted to know, what can I work on? What can I do?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not trying to shit on my former coach, right?
No,
like,
of course not. Yeah.
He's got his own ways. I'm not saying what's right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
The way that I've broken it down, I literally just had a few promotions and a couple coming up. I don't know when this comes out.
This will come out on Wednesday next week. Or no, this upcoming Wednesday. This Wednesday.
Oh, right. Yeah. So yeah, there'll be the next day we got a couple belts going on.
Oh, cool.
And like, you know, we ask if they want to know now.
Yeah.
And then also, if people don't know why they didn't get promoted, I encourage them to come talk to me.
That's cool.
Because I want a communication. I don't want you to think like, oh, like he likes so-and-so, or I don't want you to create these narratives. Just come talk to me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's no fucking, like this, realistically, like I said, these are just pat on the backs. Like, if you want to know, if you want to know, I want to tell you.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah.
You know? And so that's how I look at promotions.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, in the absence of any kind of really, really good communication, people will make shit up.
Of course.
Right?
Happens with my Odyssey all the time in the business to business. They just, my boss just hates me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he?
And the boss will be like, who is that? I don't
hate them. Yeah, well, maybe that's your problem. You should get to know.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's, I struggle a little bit with that because, I mean, you kind of know when somebody's ready, you know, they can process information. I don't expect a blue belt to be, you know, a world beater. Most of the people like you, I don't have any, I have maybe one professional athlete ish, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's at that level, you know?
Yeah.
But most of us are just, you know, we're just people that love doing jiu-jitsu, hanging out, and, you know, call us hobbyists. I don't care what you want to call us. I don't like putting anybody in a box, but, you know, we're just people that just enjoy doing it, you know? So yeah, I'm pretty open with them, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I struggled with, I'll tell you about this, was promotions. Now, promotions and letting people know or not, right? Now, my wife, I never tell her. I'll never tell her when she's getting promoted. I just surprise her, and, you know, because it's just she and I, and, you know, maybe I'll invite the kids to the academy that day so she knows something's up. But I've you know, I've done promotions where, like, I think it'd be so cool if this person wins this tournament, I promote them on the podium, and everybody's gonna be like, oh, this is so great. Man, I get so much hate. People are like, man, I wanted to be there. You know what I mean? I can't believe you didn't let us know that you were doing it. And so, yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, I let people know, like, hey, let your family know to show up.
Yeah.
next Friday.
We did Megan did a survey for White Lotus, and like, do you want to? Most people didn't. Like, most people wanted it to be a surprise via their like the survey that we sent out.
Yeah.
And then some people did. Some people wanted to know, like, hey, this is coming up, and because then you can have getting a belt in getting your blue belt in jiu-jitsu is like getting your black belt in taekwondo.
Yeah.
It's a big fucking deal. To me, like, a blue belt means that like, if something happens in the streets with a Z, you should be able to handle yourself.
100%.
Right? Like, so why not have your family or kids or whoever is important to you or your favorite training partners, right? How often did you miss, oh man, I had to be somewhere and I missed so-and-so's promotion.
Devastating. I hated it. Yeah, man. It happens a lot. I mean, yeah. And then there's, there's times where people didn't, like you said, they don't want to know. There was one guy, Michael, shout out to Michael. He's a great guy. He asked his instructor if he was going to get his blue belt this last promotion we did in April. And Steve comes up to me and he's like, hey, what do you think? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he kind of asked about it. I'm like, okay, we're going to promote him, but here's what we're going to do. I want to torture him a little bit. So, so he was a 3-stripe white belt, but he shows up a lot and he, he's a student of the game. So he's a little bit farther ahead than his rank shows. And I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stripe up and belt up everybody except him. And then I'm going to go through my list and I'm going to say, oh crap. Michael, you're going to get your 4th stripe. And he everybody's clapping. And then Steve, my other instructor, Steve, he has his blue belt tucked into his gi. So as I'm striping Michael up, he threw his blue belt over his shoulders. Dude, he cried. It was awesome. It was, he's like, he couldn't believe it. He was like, I was like, I'm sorry. I had to torture you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun, man. Yeah. And those are, I love those type of moments.
Yeah.
Especially if it was emotional, if it hit.
Oh, right? It hit hard. Yeah. It was so cool. I mean, I'm like, I tell my team, like, I'm on the verge of tears all the time anyway, because I'm a real emotional guy. So that one, a lot of them get me. That one got me.
I'll tell you, emotion is a superpower. That's how we're supposed to live. And like, maybe logic is a little bit of a rudder, but like, it's weird because logical people tend to be like, they tend to think that their way is the right one. Why wouldn't you just do this? Well, this just makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But that's not living.
Yeah.
Like actual living is seeing the beauty, when you walk outside on the sunrise or loving your wife so much that like it brings you to tears. Like that's to me.
Yeah,
I guess.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And when you share things, like I'll give you an example. I'm sure you have a million of these, and I have quite a few also. But there's one blue belt that I promoted. Gosh, man, it's been a few years. She's in nursing school now, so she can't train, but she was pretty active back in the day. She had gone through a really, really tough divorce, and the ex-husband, kept taking them to court, and she was intimidated by him, and she kind of let him get whatever he wanted because she just wanted it to be over, and so he kind of bullied her a little bit. Well, she starts doing jiu-jitsu and doing all this stuff, and she said she walked into this arbitrator's office that she was going to meet with him. Normally, she wouldn't go the same day he went; it would be kind of 2 different days, and they walk in and she's like, she says, I went to sit down in my chair and then I pushed his chair away with my foot so he wouldn't sit near me. And then she goes, and I sat there and I stood my ground and I got what I wanted. The only difference between this time and last time is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, buddy. That's fucking amazing.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck it. I get choked up just thinking about that. And when I promoted her, I was in tears. She was in tears. It was a really cool moment, man.
Yeah. That is fucking awesome. It's just this action, this little daily action of going and doing a workout with friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And the things that you're doing, like the example that you're setting, man, just doing hard shit and putting yourself out there, man. I admire that so much. And I don't know if I told you this, but a friend of mine, Tom Goggin, he's the one who asked me to reach out to you originally. So to get you on the show.
Was it Tom or I'm picturing his face.
Oh, it might have been Colin. Was it Colin?
Colin.
Colin.
It was Colin.
Sorry. Yeah, I got a mistake. So yeah, Colin said, yeah, reach out.
Sorry, Colin. I just had a brain fart.
Love you, Colin. Yeah. And he listens too. He's going to give me a lot of shit. But he said, reach out. And then I was like, cool, man. Yeah. We talked to him and we had a good conversation. And then you started telling me about the things that you put yourself through, just putting yourself out there, doing these unorthodox ways of building this mental strength, man. It's really cool. Like, I need more people like you in my life because I tend to get into this, like, just this little routine. Like, I get up in the morning and I do my thing, and then I drive to work, and then I come back and do it all over again tomorrow. And, you know, I don't take the minute to meditate, and I don't take the minute to give gratitude. And those are the little things that you probably built up over time that makes you who you are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a habit that I built over time of deflecting. So I'm going to not deflect that one and say thank you.
Pleasure, man. Yeah, I'm glad to say it. I'm glad I was able to get this opportunity to tell you, because, like, you've inspired me. I'm sure you're inspiring a lot of different people, man. And just keep doing what you're doing. This is awesome. And you need to write a book one day.
I attempted a couple years ago,
Okay.
and I think like 60,000 words written.
Okay.
But not about me, about like stories like from coaching. And
Yeah.
like now it would be interesting to look back on and add in like what I've learned over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think have you ever read Musashi? Like the fictional?
I'm in the middle of it. I'm on page 400, which is not even halfway through the book.
Yeah, it's thick. That's awesome that you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
What a weird thing for me to bring up.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you happen to be in the middle of.
Yeah.
What do you think so far?
So far, it's a cool story. I mean, it's really neat. I kind of get lost in when they start talking about, you know, this person learned under that person, and then he started his own blah 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 in this province, and I'm not familiar with Japan, so my brain's like, I'm not sure where that is. So that's the only thing that I struggle with. But the story's cool. I mean, a lot of like fuck yeah moments. You know what I mean? Like fuck yeah.
There's as you go through the book and as he becomes a little bit wiser, because like in the beginning of the book he's a fucking moron.
Yeah.
Like all of us.
Yeah.
He understands, and I don't think this is giving away anything.
Nah.
He understands that once he's understood the way in one thing, he can understand the way in all things. And I find that to be this like beautiful thought, because how often do you look at something and then you could put it in jujitsu terms?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
That is something that you have learned the way of. You've acquired some version of excellence that you can then apply it to all these other things. And I just find that to be fucking so incredible.
It is incredible.
Because of jujitsu and a certain amount of excellence that I've accomplished, I'm able to like unpack these cheat codes of like, oh, okay, so now if I want to play this sport, I understand that my body angle, when I go this way, I'm stronger this way. So I can hit the pickleball better.
Yeah.
You know, or like in chess, like I constantly, like I picked up chess 2 years ago, so I'm not good. But I'm way, way, way better than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But then I'll look at things like from a jiu-jitsu perspective of like the positioning of things, and sometimes I want to take like the piece, but then it's gonna, you know, weaken my pawn structure or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I could go for that armbar, but then I'm gonna have this 300-pound guy on top of me if I don't get it. Like, is this, maybe I can get to it, you know, like just these things. And I thought Musashi, the story of Musashi brings that together really nicely, because he's constantly out learning from nature, watching like the water patterns, watching a snowflake come down, doing art, like all these different things that he's learning from, and he can understand and put into this thing that he knows a ton of, and I just fucking love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, one thing that's going on with me right now is I picked up golf, and I used to play.
Good for you.
I used to play a long time ago, and you know, I started up again just to get outside. You know, I you know, you're indoors a lot. You know, so I want to get outdoors, and Arizona has some amazing sunrises, man. You just got to get the hell back inside by 9 a.m. Other than that, it has great sunrise. So I really enjoy that. But you know, I think had I not really immersed myself in jiu-jitsu the way I did, I think I'd be a worse golfer for it, because like first thing I did was like, okay, I'm putting my white belt back on. This is awesome, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
so I took some lessons and, and then, learned a few things. But the one thing I think that's helping me more than anything is it's really reinforcing something that I learned early on in jiu-jitsu. And that is, don't talk shit about yourself.
Oh, that's a great fucking lesson.
Right?
Yes.
Don't talk shit. You're not too fat. You're not too
You're going
slow.
to create narratives
Yep.
that you then believe, and then
Yep.
you're not going to be able to do it.
Yep.
And
I
then-
can't do that. I'm too old. Okay. How about try it? You might surprise yourself. Right. And in golf, it's really easy to say, oh, I suck at this. Oh, I'm terrible at that. I refuse to say that, because it doesn't help my jiu-jitsu. Right. It doesn't help my jiu-jitsu. Like, talking shit about yourself does not help your life.
Yeah. No, not at all. That one of the things that I say in coaching all the time is, does it serve you? Does
Yeah.
that narrative serve you?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to judge you. Does it? Right?
Right.
Does it serve you? That I fucking suck at golf.
Yeah.
Does it serve you?
Doesn't serve you. Yeah. Like,
Not if you're trying to be good at golf.
right. And the thing is, like, I don't know how good I want to be. I mean, I'm a goal setter, so I got a few goals, but I think I just want to enjoy being in the moment. And I think lamenting about, a bad shot or a bad putt or, something else going on doesn't help you be in that moment. Right.
No.
And, it's kind of nice when, in Arizona, you're walking up to your ball and, oh, there's a road runner. Oh, cool. Look at a coyote, oh shit, he's hunting, that kind of stuff. So it's cool, man. It's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it. Never thought I'd play it, but here I am.
It's a wonderful game to get outside.
Yeah.
I played in high school and then took like quite a bit of time off, and now I'll play a couple times a year.
Okay. Yeah.
I had a client get me clubs last year.
Oh, neat.
Quite nice clubs. So
Yeah.
now I have no excuse. I had my same clubs from high school,
Yeah, man.
but now I have, I got to go up, but got to. Well, life sucks. I got to go play more golf, Alex, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First world problems. I got to play more golf. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
But
for
hey,
sure.
I wanted to ask you, are you going to be at Master Worlds this year?
No, I have camp.
Oh,
So,
that's right. Okay.
Our camps are in February. Normally it's like the third week in February weekend, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then Labor Day. And
Oh,
Labor Day
gotcha.
is also fucking Masters Worlds.
Yeah.
And for the last few years, we've missed out on people because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have camp coming up.
Where's the camp?
At White Lotus in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
It's-
Okay.
Yeah, we do a 4-day camp over Labor Day.
Nice.
Starts Friday, ends Monday. We bring in coaches from all over the country. A lot of Globetrotter coaches, and then
Yep.
coaches that I've met kind of along the way. We might have a special coach this time that I can't say yet.
Can't release yet?
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's a couple months away, but it would be somebody everybody kind of knows, I think.
Yeah.
But either way, the coaches that we bring are excellent coaches and excellent people.
That's cool.
I've done, 16 or 17 BJJ Globetrotter camps. I just got back from BJJ in Paradise, which is an excellent camp in Mexico. I've done open source. I've done a lot of jiu-jitsu camps.
Yeah.
And to me, the bringing together of people and this mutually shared experience and meeting people from all over, man, it's just an excellent thing to do. Our camp, I think, has the best people. It's all like a lot of people. It's it's only 35 people.
Mm.
And I do black belts for free.
Wow.
Up to a certain limit. So
Yeah.
we'll have 35 people and 10 of them are black belts. So
Right. Yeah.
there's just a lot of talent and wisdom on the mats.
That's cool.
And so yeah, it's in Milwaukee in summer is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Milwaukee in summer is one of the best places in the world.
It's so much fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. The weather is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I really implore people to check out Milwaukee, even if it's not for jiu-jitsu camp.
Yeah. You got to go to the festivals down by the water.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Almost every weekend you have different festivals from different ethnic groups: Polish Fest, Festa Italiana, Pride Fest, German Fest, everything. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I was there one year. I was there one year during Pride Fest, And
Yeah.
dude, it was a party, bro. It was so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
man.
The
It was
dance tents at Pride
Yeah.
Fest is fantastic.
wild, man. Well, listen, man, we've been going for about 2 hours, and I want to thank you for coming on the show. And if there's anything else you want to bring up, let's talk about it now, man. Anything that's coming up.
Yeah. So I'm planning a tour right now. I kind of mentioned it a couple times, but I started a Patreon, and the Patreon is a Gentle Art Lifestyle Patreon. So
Okay.
it's not just jujitsu. It is a lot of jujitsu, but it's also coaching. It's also breathing and meditation. And obviously, there's free ways to join the Patreon, and there's different ways to support if you like what we're doing.
Yeah.
To kind of push that and to push joining the Patreon, I'm going to do, and I'm setting up right now, the tour of calling it the Painless and Precise Tour. So we're going through the different submissions, how to do them painlessly and precisely with
Nice.
safety in mind.
Yeah.
And the only cost for them is they have to be a premium member of the Patreon, which can be $5. And you
Oh,
could
wow.
join for $5 and then quit the next month. I don't care. Right? Like if we're not supplying,
Yeah.
But that's, how I'm trying to get that ball rolling with the Patreon. So, yeah, I'm excited about doing that. I have a bunch of gyms lined up. Luckily, I've made a bunch of friends along my long journey, and realistically, you can't beat a seminar for at cheapest $5.
Yeah, man. Are you coming out to Arizona?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk with Jay. So
Oh, cool.
maybe we could talk. Maybe we could talk, and maybe I could do one by you if that's
Absolutely, man. You're always welcome. I'll support, man. Whatever I can do to help out.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, man.
And how far are you from? How far are you from Phoenix, or how far are you from Jay's?
From Jay's, from here, I'm probably about 12, 15 miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. He's in just outside of Chandler, like Chandler, Phoenix-ish, and I'm in Mesa, so we're just on opposite sides of the highway.
Yeah, I thought Mesa was farther than that, but either way, I
Yeah.
would absolutely love to do something at both and make it a trip. And then how far is Joshua Tree?
I can't remember, but it's a good 5 hours, I believe, maybe
Okay.
4.5
Yeah.
hours. Yeah. So it's not terrible. Cause
Yeah,
I mean,
because now we got this one. So I'm like I might try to plan everything.
let's do it, man. Let's do it. That'd be
Yeah.
fun, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but thanks for coming on, man. And I hate to cut it off, but I got an appointment. I
Sure.
promised my wife we'd go somewhere.
It's 75 degrees outside, and my girlfriend is at her parents' house with a fire. So hey, I hear you. I'm gonna head over there and just chill the fuck out. It's gonna
Right
be great.
on, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming back on, dude. And again, man, I appreciate your patience and thank you for all the kind words and we'll see each other soon, man.
Yeah, we'll see each other soon, and I'll message you probably tomorrow about the meditation. Now people are going to hear it. Now you're going to have to do it.
Got to do
right?
it, man. Got to do it. Yeah.
30 days at 1 minute. I think you can do it.
I think I can
have
do
faith
it.
in you. Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's been awesome.
All right, let me just stop the recording real quick. This episode of the BJJ Foxcast is brought to you by BioPro. BioPro is an all-natural alternative to prescription human growth hormone, which aids in recovery, anti-aging, metabolism, libido, immunity, skin health, cognition, sleep, and stress. Just one vial per day provides a substantial boost to all of these growth factors. Okay, so that's what they want me to say. Here's what I know as an aging grappler. I've been using BioPro Plus and the nighttime variant, BioPro Plus Cortisleep, for several months, and it feels like I've grown a third lung. My gas tank is noticeably bigger, my recovery is faster, and I'm back on the mats much quicker, not just between training sessions, but between rounds. Now you can get $30 off your first order of BioPro when you use the code FOXCAST at www.bioproteintech.com. That's code FOXCAST for $30 off your first order at www.bioproteintech.com. Thank you, BioPro.